All right, good afternoon, everybody. This is Meteorologist Noah Hauck. I'm just doing a quick mic check to make sure everything is working over on my side, and we'll be getting this update started shortly in just about a couple of minutes. Just want to give some people some time to get on in here before we get it started, but thinking of just going over some of those model runs and some potential totals as we head throughout the next couple of hours. But I'll be back shortly. Again, just making sure my mic works and making sure everything else works before we get on started. Alrighty, good afternoon everybody in Middle Georgia. This is Meteorologist Noah Hauck, just giving an update as to what we could expect heading into tomorrow morning. Now, my plan today is to kind of go through the model runs, the potential snow amounts, kind of some of the impacts we might be expecting as we head into tomorrow and even into Monday morning. So we'll probably run through it just a few times. They're probably taking up about 20 to 30 minutes. I'll have our Facebook and our YouTube pulled up because that's where I'm live streaming to at the moment. And I'll try to answer any questions that do come on in. But I'm just going to get a couple other things set up in the meantime, and then we'll start getting on rolling. But I hope everybody is having a good Saturday afternoon so far. Some things have definitely changed since yesterday when we looked at things last. So that's why we're coming on to do a live stream, especially since we do now have that winter storm warning in effect for some people here in Middle Georgia. Just wanted to kind of give a quick update and just make sure everybody is informed as the new data has been coming on in. But I think we'll go ahead and get started. So we'll move on from this. We'll get this off the screen real quick and we'll get on started. So the first graphic we're going to go over is this updated winter weather alerts. So earlier this morning, the National Weather Service up in Peachtree City had a winter weather advisory issued for everybody here in Middle Georgia. And that was because they are expecting maybe up to 1 inch of snow across the board. But earlier this afternoon, they did upgrade it to a winter storm warning for at least portions of Middle Georgia. It's not going to include everybody, but it is going to include some of us, like in Bibb County, over down Sumter towards Americus, and then even all the way over in Dublin in Lawrence County. Now, this is because they could expect anywhere from 1 to 3 inches of that accumulation. So expecting some higher totals in this area and a little bit more of an impact, especially when it comes to your drive, because as you'll notice, it's going to be along I-75 and a little bit of I-16 as well. So that's why they at least decided to go with an upgrade to that winter storm warning. Now, taking a little bit at some of the newer model runs out here, we're going to start off with our graph model. This is one of the short range models that we look at and we use almost every single day. We're going to notice heading into later tonight, can still be expecting a few showers starting to pop on up as a little bit of that system starts to make its way here into Middle Georgia. But what you're also going to notice is that these temperatures are well above freezing, going to be in those upper 40s and even those low 50s. So by the time we make it to tonight with the initiation of some of that rain, we are not expecting any of that winter precipitation. But as we start to roll throughout the remainder of our Saturday evening and even into Sunday morning, you're going to notice some of that rain can start to cool down the atmosphere a little bit, bringing them on down. And even by the time we make it to right around 2 a.m., some spots in the northwestern portions of Middle Georgia are now going to be in those mid 30s. So starting to see a little bit of that cold air getting into Middle Georgia sooner than it saw yesterday. And then as we start to roll around to maybe about 4 a.m., you're going to start to see that transition from rain over to that wintry precip or that wintry mix here in that pink right here. And then in these deeper purples and that white is going to be more of that snow. And yesterday we were showing that some of these temperatures, even when the snow initiated, was going to be above freezing. But now with the latest run, you're going to notice they're going to be flirting right with freezing, if not below it. So over towards Thomaston, right at 30 degrees, over in Forsyth and Roberta, right at freezing at 32, and other places just above it, just a tad. Macon right at 33, and Warner Robins right at 34. You're also going to notice from yesterday, this has had more of a north and a westerly shift. Just yesterday, only really showing that snow popping up down here in the southeastern portions of middle Georgia. So today, some models are now hinting the fact that it's taking a more north and westerly track, including more portions of the mid-state, but also seeing that cold air get in here a little bit sooner. Then even as we head throughout the remainder of the morning, starting to see more of that snow across middle Georgia and temperatures cooler than what the models were showing yesterday. Now a lot of people being right around that freezing mark. So if we're going to see any of this precipitation fall, it's more and more likely that we could start to see some of that stick and some of those accumulations going on up. But we're also going to see, again, yesterday, the cold air not nearly getting in here as quickly, but now showing it maybe a little bit faster than models were showing yesterday. So as we head over towards the eastern portions of Georgia and up towards the metro, you're going to notice we have the cold air in place, but not enough of that moisture. Then as we head to right across middle Georgia, this is where you're going to have both of those conditions in place to have enough moisture, and it's going to be cold enough to allow for that winter precipitation right here with these whites and those purples. But then as you head more towards the southeastern portions of middle Georgia and over just towards Savannah in general, you're going to notice you have plenty of that moisture, but the temperatures won't be cold enough. So it is going to be sort of a sweet spot here in middle Georgia to have the chance to see some of that snow. Then as we head throughout the remainder of the afternoon, or really the morning time period, still seeing a little bit of those temperatures right around freezing. And then definitely by the time we make it to the early afternoon, it'll start to get on at here and temperatures are going to start to rise. So even though we are going to possibly see some of that snow as we head out there tomorrow, mainly going to be on those grassy areas, but now that we have that winter storm warning in effect, could see some possible impacts on those roads as well. But even by the time we make it to about 2 p.m., you'll notice temperatures well above freezing at this point all across the board. Now going to be in those low 40s. So even if we are going to have some of that snow stick to the ground and start to accumulate, it likely is not going to last for very long, or at least not last for heading into our Monday. But what is going to be a problem, especially heading into Monday morning, is that if we even have leftover moisture from that melting snow or just any of that frozen precipitation that we do see Monday morning, temperature-wise, well below freezing. So this means as you head, maybe if you have things to do on that Martin Luther King Jr. Monday, there's the potential to run into some slick spots and some black ice. So thankfully, people won't be in school because it will be a holiday, but it is just something to think about, especially if you happen to have a commute still on that Monday. Just something to keep in mind before things warm on up and start to get out of here as we head onto our Monday. So that is just one of our models. So let's run through a different model. This is going to be a different short-range model known as the NAM, standing for the North American Mesoscale model. So as we head to right about 6 a.m., this is going to show much more widespread rain, but still showing a little bit of that wintry precip showing up over in the northwestern portions of middle Georgia. Now this isn't going to be as clean as the graph showed. We're going to have periods of rain, a little bit of that snow mixed in, a little bit more rain, and even showing some snow up towards the metro. So again, not going to be in total agreement with our graph, but still showing some precipitation or that wintry precip as we head throughout those Sunday morning hours. By the time we make it to right around the end of our morning into our afternoon, again showing it getting on out of here and heading off to our east and our north by the time we make it to Sunday afternoon. And finally, one of our other short-range models, the HRRR, we'll run through this one as well, just to get a good idea as to what the different models are picking up on, what they're agreeing on, and what they're not agreeing on. Now, this one is going to be closer towards the name, where you're going to have these periods of rain mixed in with a little bit of the wintry precip and even possibly some of that snow up towards the metro area. And as we run it on through, this isn't going to quite encompass the whole event because the HRRR doesn't go out as far as the graph and those NAM models, but it's still going to be picking up on the fact that we could see more of that northwest track than we were seeing just yesterday, when a lot of it was just going to be stuck down here in the southeastern portions of middle Georgia. So that's one of the big changes we've seen from just last night and really even from this morning alone. So when we get down to talking about potential totals, this is going to be our graph model. Now this has been changing every single time that a new update has come out. Just yesterday, again, a lot of it sectioned in just the southeastern portions of middle Georgia and really only seeing maybe about 1/10 to about 1/4 of an inch. But now today it's updated once again. Earlier it showed even some places with up to 2 inches of snow. And now the latest update coming out just about an hour ago, it has since come down. Now showing a lot of places right about 1/2 of an inch. And then as we get a little bit more towards the south, possibly more than an inch. And again, there could be some isolated areas that see more than an inch, maybe up to 2 to 3. That's going to be that deformation zone, just like we saw last year. A lot of us here in middle Georgia saw about 2 to 4 inches, and then all the way down in Crisp County, they saw up to 9. That was going to be that deformation zone where it's not a very big area. You have a small area that gets a lot of snow in just a short amount of time. So that's also very difficult to forecast and exactly where that could fall. So that is still going to be a worst case scenario of possibly anywhere from 2 to maybe even 4 inches in the worst case. Now we have our NAM model. This is going to be one of those other short range models with its updating as well. This was a lot more aggressive yesterday, whereas the graph was pretty much just pushed more of that heavier snow totals going to be off towards the west near Roberta, Fort Valley, and maybe over towards Americus, but it's still painting a similar picture that everybody could see just about 1/2 an inch of snow. So just something to keep in mind, especially even as we head towards tonight with another update expected around 9 to 10 p.m. Things are going to change. Like I said, even with the last ones coming out or updating within the last hour, they changed. Even this one, just like our graph, was showing periods that it could see up to 2 to maybe even close to 3 inches, but now has since come down. So these are still going to change even as we get even to the initiation of the event. Winter forecasting can always change right up until the moment and even change while it's happening. So that makes them pretty difficult to forecast, especially here in the south where we really don't see them all that often. Now, when it comes to our impacts, this has also come up from yesterday. Everybody in middle Georgia was going to be right around this yellow color with that minor impact, but now starting into that center corridor of middle Georgia, right around where that winter storm warning has been issued. Now it's been upgraded to that moderate risk. So let's just go over what exactly these different levels mean. So that white area or that limited is really just going to say that some places are going to be a little bit slippery, so you might just want to be driving safe out there, but you shouldn't be expecting a whole lot of impacts. Now as we head to more of that yellow color, that's going to be across all of middle Georgia. That's going to be those minor impacts. This is going to be, you want to make sure you're being cautious while you drive, and you could see a few impacts, people starting to slow on down as they drive, so there could be just a little bit of traffic throughout that commute that you might be taking. Now that we have that moderate impact level in effect for some places across the mid-state, this is where you want to make sure that it could start impacting some of those roads. So you want to make sure you're taking extra caution as you drive, and you should definitely start to expect some of those impacts, especially there could be a road or two that might be closed. There could be some accidents along the way because of those slippery conditions. So just make sure that if you have any plans to go out tomorrow, try to avoid them if you can. That would be ideal just because you don't want to get stuck in a certain situation. But these have been coming up as we've been going throughout the last couple of days. So here, let's just do a quick recap of what we know. So the thing that has been consistent throughout all of this week is the timing, and that's going to be throughout our Sunday morning and getting out of here by the late morning, early afternoon hours. And by the time we make it to Sunday afternoon, temperatures will be above freezing to start the melting process. Now, something that has changed from yesterday is the track is now going to be more to the north and more to the west. And that was shown between the different snow totals or potential snow totals between the graph and the NAM, and even just the model runs themselves have been showing more of that precipitation or that winter precip now moving to the north and to the west. And of course, the thing to keep in mind is things will still change in the coming hours. Like I mentioned, winter weather forecasting is rather difficult because so many factors have to come together and be just right for us to see what we saw just last year. Again, yesterday, one was showing a bit aggressive totals, that NAM. Now today, they're both kind of starting to agree with the NAM and the graph. So just something to keep in mind, things will be changing, especially with another update coming later tonight and possibly even during those overnight hours. Now, of course, it is going to be exciting exciting because, again, we're in the deep south. We really don't see snow all that often, and the fact that it's almost a year to the date since we saw that snow last year, it's pretty exciting getting back-to-back years with the possibility to see that snow coming through tomorrow. So if you have the chance and you want to snap a picture and send it on in, you can with our Chime In app. That's going to be this QR code right here. That way you can be able to send it to us and we can post it on our social medias, feature you in any way, shape, or form. But just something to do, especially with the excitement of the potential to see some of that snow tomorrow. Now, we've kind of gone through everything that I wanted to cover, so what I'm going to do is go through, check the Facebook, check our YouTube, see if there's anything that maybe people are asking questions about, something to update. But if not, then we're just going to kind of run it on through in case anybody else has joined in the meantime. Do it 1-2 more times, and then I think that'll be okay for the time being. And again, as we head throughout the later time, or as we head throughout today and get to tonight with more of those updates, if there's anything that's going to be a major change, that will be something that we'll be able to update you with on our website, where we have a couple different stories or web stories that are out there that we are going to be updating as we head throughout tonight, especially since just over this past night, things did change quite a bit. So just gonna go through here and just check on some things as well. And yeah. Okay. Don't see anything at the moment. Of course, like I said, I am going to have the Facebook and the YouTube up just in case you have any questions. But at the moment, not seeing anything right now. So what we're going to do is keep it ongoing and still head throughout the remainder of this for at least another 15-20 minutes and just do a quick recap. So again, if you're just now joining us, we have had an update in terms of the potential for some winter weather as we head into tomorrow. Earlier today, the National Weather Service up at Peachtree City did issue a winter weather advisory that was going to be for everybody here in Middle Georgia, and that's because they could expect to see up to 1 inch in terms of potential snow. Now that we've head throughout the early afternoon hours, they've upgraded portions of the mid-state into that winter storm warning. It'll be including places like Macon, all the way down towards Americus, and all the way over towards people who are in Dublin. Now this is because they start to see accumulations that they could expect up to 1 to 3 inches, and this can start to have impacts, especially when it comes to your travel. So it's just out there, just so you know, as we head into tomorrow. It's going to be lasting from about 3 a.m. tomorrow morning to about 1 p.m. in the afternoon hours. Now we have seen some change in our model runs and some totals, especially as we've head throughout the last night. So we'll just run through a couple different model runs to see what has changed and show you what's going on. But as we head throughout tonight, still going to be expecting some of those showers out ahead of the potential to turn into some of that winter precipitation. And you'll notice right around 9 p.m. temperature-wise, still going to be well above freezing. So that's some good news because we won't be seeing any of that snow or that sleet or freezing rain. But that rain does have the chance to cool down the atmosphere as we head throughout the night. And we also are looking to see that colder air out from the north and the west getting here a little bit earlier than some of the models were showing yesterday. Because as we get to right around 4 a.m., you're going to start to see the transition between that rain here in this green to maybe a little bit more of that wintry mix here in this pink, and then that snow going to be in that darker purple and that white color. You'll notice even by the time we went to right about 6 a.m., this is different from yesterday. This is going to show a more north and westerly track than it did yesterday. It showed it all the way really down here in southeastern Middle Georgia, but now taking more of a north and westerly track. But something else that is different are the temperatures. Yesterday also was showing them going to still be well above average as it started to initiate, but now you're going to notice in the portions where this is showing the potential for snow, temperature-wise, going to be right at freezing. So over in Thomaston, right at 30, to Forsyth and Roberta, right at 32, that freezing point, and then other places just a degree or two above. Macon, right at 33, and Warner Robins, right at 34. So this is going to be colder. It means there's the potential for more to stick around, especially as it falls towards the ground and possibly sticking onto those grassy areas. And as we head throughout the remainder of the morning, still going to see a larger area of the potential for snow across the mid-state. And again, temperature-wise, going to be cooler than we saw it yesterday. So here's kind of the different sectors of what's going on. So as we head all the way off towards the metro area and off towards just western Georgia in totality, you're going to see there's going to be the cold air that's in place, but not the moisture. Then over here in the western portions of Georgia, closer down towards Savannah, you're going to have the moisture, but not the temperatures. It won't be cold enough. So kind of right in middle Georgia is that sweet spot where they start to overlap with one another. You have the moisture in place and the temperatures that will be cold enough, so that's why you're starting to see a little bit more of that winter precipitation over top of the mid-state. So as we roll throughout the remainder of the morning, still have the chance to see some of that during around 9 a.m. to about 10 a.m. And as we head throughout the late morning into the early afternoon, that snow is going to start to get on out of here. And already by 11 a.m., temperatures starting to increase and get above freezing. And by the time we even make it to about 2 p.m., temperatures well above freezing at this point, going to be in those low 40s. So if we do have that snow that is going to stick around, it probably won't be lasting and will start the melting process into Sunday afternoon. But something else to keep in mind as we head into Monday morning is that leftover moisture from that melting snow or that wintry mix is likely to refreeze. So that'll be something else to keep in mind, that even once we get past the excitement of a potential winter precip, the black ice and slippery spots is going to be a real concern heading into Monday morning. Now, it is going to be Martin Luther King Jr. Day, so most people probably won't have school and some people won't have work, but some people might still. So just in case you are going to have that morning commute, temperature-wise, going to be in those mid-20s, so that leftover moisture in that water will refreeze, causing some slick spots. So something to just keep in mind. Now let's go through a different model run. This is going to be the NAM, or another short-range model. This shows a little bit more of a messy picture. This is going to show a lot more widespread rain across the board and starting to show a little bit more of that winter precipitation. It's going to start to align with the graph, showing it starting off in the northwestern portions of middle Georgia. And as we head throughout the remainder, again, not as clear cut as the graph was showing. Periods of rain, winter precip, back to rain, and even a little bit up for the metro Atlanta area. And again, that's one of the bigger changes we've seen since just last night, that this is taking a more northerly and westerly track. So just something to keep in mind, but still showing winter precipitation throughout those morning hours, and then getting out of here by the time we make it to that early afternoon. And then one of our last models that we can show that, again, is going to be more of a short range model because it gives us a better idea as to what might happen rather than those long ranges. This is going to be the HRRR. Now this is going to be kind of more aligning with the NAM, where it shows a mixture of that rain and that winter precipitation mixed in with it, because again, those temperatures are going to be right along the freezing mark. So it'll be hard to see whether or not it might actually come down to snow, or maybe it'll take some time to help cool down the atmosphere, and then it'll transition to more of that snow or that wintry mix. But this is showing, again, more of a similar picture to what the NAM has shown. You'll notice more of those deeper purples, where you can have the chance to see some of those heavier snow showers, are now concentrated to the central or the southern central portions of middle Georgia. And so that's kind of what we're looking towards when it comes to those potential snow totals. Now this is going to be the graph model, and every single time that this is updated, it has changed in some sort of way, and it will continue to change as we head throughout tonight. Earlier today, it had portions where it showed up to 2.5 inches, but the latest one has come down. Now the highest amounts being over in Vienna and Cordele, maybe about 1.5 inches. So it has come down some, but still showing more of the concentration of the heaviest snow in the southern and central portions of middle Georgia. But this has changed from yesterday, where it only showed down here in the southeastern portions. Now it's going to encompass everybody, seeing about on average maybe 1/2 inch. Now the other one that we can show is the NAM model. This was a lot more aggressive yesterday and again earlier today, showing anywhere from 2 to maybe 3 inches in certain spots. This has come down. So starting to see a little bit more agreement between the graph and the NAM, where the graph has come up and the NAM has come down, starting to agree a little bit more. So this now showing about 1/2 inch across the board, but some of those heavier spots over towards the western portions of middle Georgia. So this has changed from what it showed earlier. This now has made a westerly shift, since it did previously show the higher amounts over here towards Sandersville and Wrightsville. So just something to keep in mind. And again, this will change as we head towards tonight. And in terms of impacts, this has also come up in the last few hours. Yesterday, all of middle Georgia was going to be in this yellow color, this minor, but now seeing places under that winter storm warning now under a moderate risk for some of those impacts. So what exactly does that mean? Well, when it comes to those minor impacts, it's really going to be talking about you want to make sure you're driving safe out there, could run into a few spots that are slick, a little bit slippery, and you could expect maybe a few impacts as people are going to start to drive slower. But as you get to more of that moderate risk, you're going to have to make sure you're taking extra caution, especially like me. I don't really have a car that's meant for the snow, so I'm going to have to be extra careful if I'm out and about tomorrow. And you're going to want to expect impacts because that could start to see some of that snow or that wintry mix starting to get stuck on the roads, could cause especially some slick spots, maybe even an accident or two. And you could expect to see a closure or two as well, so just something to keep in mind. So if you could avoid travel, that probably would be for the best, but if you're going to be out there, just make sure you're exercising that caution. So again, what is it that we do know heading into tomorrow? The timing has been consistent all of this week, being that it's a Sunday morning event and getting out of here by the early afternoon at the latest. But something that has changed from yesterday is the track is now going to be more north and west. So just yesterday, really only picking up some snow or the winter precip in the southeastern portions of the mid-state, but now it's starting to encompass almost everybody here in middle Georgia. And then as we head throughout the remainder of tonight, things are still going to change. That's just one thing you deal with when it comes to winter forecasting or just winter precip forecasting in general, that so many different factors have to come in agreement to really make sure that that snow is going to fall and stick, and just really has been very inconsistent throughout all of this week that has made it rather difficult. So it is just something to keep in mind as we head throughout the next few hours. Things are still going to change. And this is going to be rather exciting because it's almost been a year to the day from last year when we saw all of that snow. So if you're going to be out and about and maybe playing in some of that snow and you want to share it with us, you can. It's going to be with our Chime In app. If you want, there's the QR code right there that you can scan it, get the app and send it to us, and we can be able to post it on social media, share it with our Facebook family. It's just something to keep in mind as we head forward, because although this isn't going to be nearly as bad as we saw last year, there's still going to be a couple places that get some of that snow. You might be able to make a snowball or two out there. So just if something you feel like you want to do, it's out there for you as well. All right, so again, kind of run through everything. So I'm just going to go through our Facebook and our YouTube just to see what's going on right now. Seeing if there's anything out there as well, any more questions, anything like that. Gotcha, so have somebody on Facebook asking if that they're in Warner Robins, if they should travel. I would say, so let's go back real quick. So you'll notice on this graphic right here, Warner Robins is still going to be within that winter storm warning. So that means that you could expect anywhere from maybe 1 to 3 inches of snow. And then in terms of potential impacts, that's going to be under that moderate area. So that means you could start to see that accumulation adding up on some of those roads. So if you can try to avoid travel, that probably would be for the best. But if you absolutely had to, you would want to make sure that you are staying safe out there, and that you just want to make sure you're expecting that there is going to be impacts and that your commute may be a little bit longer than you normally would on a regular day just like today. All right, just checking everything else one more time, and then we'll run through it one more time again, just in case anybody has joined since I did start this. And after that, again, check the questions, and after that, probably get off of here and just update everything as we head throughout the remainder of the night, and just look forward to tomorrow and hopefully be able to enjoy some of that snow out there as well. All right, we'll take it from the top, and it'll be that winter storm advisory, or winter weather advisory, excuse me, and the winter storm warning. So earlier today, the National Weather Service at Peachtree City did issue that winter weather advisory for everybody here in middle Georgia, and that's because they could expect up to 1 inch of snow. And then recently, they did upgrade portions of it in middle Georgia to a winter storm warning, anywhere from places all the way to Macon, down towards Americus, and then all the way over towards Dublin. So that means that there could be now accumulations anywhere from 1 to 3 inches, and you could start to see some impacts, especially heading throughout those roads. And this is going to be through some places where there's a population core like Macon, over in Dublin, and this is also going to be along 16 right here and 75. So just something to keep in mind as we head into tomorrow. Now, one of the major things that we've seen change from yesterday into today is the track that this system is taking has shifted a little bit to the north and over towards the west just a little bit. But still, as we head throughout tonight, still expecting a little bit of some showers before we get to that transition into some wintry mix and potential for snow. And you'll notice around 9 p.m. still going to have those temperatures well above freezing, which is good because that'll prohibit any sort of that frozen precip. But as we head throughout the remainder of the night, some of that rain could cool down some of our atmosphere, allowing for that colder air to get in a little bit sooner and cool things on down. So as we head to right about that 4 a.m. mark, the graph model, this latest run, is starting to pick up on that transition a little bit down here over towards Butler. Again, this pink right here is going to be that wintry mix. Then over here in the white and that purple is going to be more of that snow. And you'll notice another thing that's different from yesterday is temperatures are going to be a little bit cooler, especially in the north and western portions, already being close to freezing in some spots. So as we head a few more hours later, now we're seeing a little bit more of that snow, especially across portions of the central mid-state, temperature-wise, right around freezing. So over in Forsyth and Roberta, right at that 32 mark. Thomaston, a little bit below, right at 30. And then over towards Macon and Warner Robins, right at 33 and 34. So this is showing a little bit more of that temperature being close to freezing, allowing it for it to make it to the ground and potentially start to stick. So as we head throughout the remainder of the morning, seeing it have a wider spread across the mid-state, because yesterday it was really only showing it down here in the southeastern portions, but now showing it that maybe everybody will see at least some sort of snow, maybe anywhere from flurries to an inch or two. So let's break down the different sectors as to what's going on. We're going to see over here in the western portions of Georgia and up towards the metro, you've got the cold air in place, but not enough moisture to start to accumulate anything. But on the contrary, over towards the eastern portions, over down towards Savannah, you've got plenty of moisture, but not quite cold enough temperatures. So as you make it to right in here in central Georgia, that's where you start to get an overlap of both of those conditions. You've got cold enough temperatures and also ample enough moisture to start to see some of that precipitation. And as we head throughout the remainder of that morning, still going to be seeing it sticking around probably throughout the morning, and then by the time we make it to the early afternoon or right about 1 p.m., starting to see it get on out of here and temperatures will start to rise. So even if you are to see any of that accumulation, it doesn't look to last for very long, especially heading into Sunday afternoon. So by the time we make it to 2 p.m., temperature-wise, well above freezing, already going to be in those upper 40s. But something else to keep in mind, once we even get past the potential for all of this snow, heading into Monday morning will also be important to note. I know it's going to be Martin Luther King Jr. Day, so people probably aren't going to be in school, and some people might not even have work, but some might still have work. So it is something to keep in mind that for that morning commute, if there's leftover moisture from that melting snow or just melting precip or just rain, if you happen to get just rain, it looks to freeze on over and create some of that black ice. So just something to keep in mind for that Monday morning commute. Now we're going to run through a couple different models as well. This is another short range model known as the North American Mesoscale model, or the NAM. This is going to be a little bit messier than our graph model. We're going to see right around 6 a.m. starting to see that transition from all of this rain to more of that wintry precip. And again, focusing more towards the north and western portions of the mid-state, at least to start out, and then start to make its way across middle Georgia. But still going to have periods of rain, winter precip, a little bit more rain, and then possibly even some winter precip up towards the metro area. So the models are going to show slightly different pictures, but still getting a little bit better agreement that at least here in middle Georgia, probably going to see a little bit of something. Then another short range model we have is the HRRR, and this is going to be more closely aligned with the NAM. So this is going to be a little bit messier as we head into that Sunday morning. Still going to show that shift from that rain to a little bit more of that winter precip, and again showing the potential to see a little bit of something up towards the metro. But this one doesn't go out nearly as far as our other ones, just because this one is about for only 18 hours out and ahead rather than 28 to 48 like the NAM and the graph as well. So when it comes to potential totals, we'll use the graph and the NAM. And again, things have been changing every single run that this has been updating. So earlier today, the graph was showing portions that were about 2 inches, but now we're going to see it has since come down, now showing the most maybe about 1 inch to 1.5 inches. And this has even changed from yesterday, where it only showed it down here in the southeastern portions, but now going to be showing everybody here in middle Georgia, and on average seeing maybe about 1/2 of an inch. Now when we turn to our NAM, This one was much more aggressive yesterday, showing anywhere from 2 to maybe even 3 inches, but now has since come down. So we had our 2, we had the graph that was down here, we had the NAM that was up here. They've kind of done this where the graph has come up in totals and the NAM has come down, starting to agree a little bit more on what we could see. This one, however, is going to show those higher amounts a little bit more towards the west. So over towards Roberta, Fort Valley, a little bit into Butler, but still across the board, maybe just about a half of an inch. Now, in terms of those potential impacts, we're going to see that it has come up for the places surrounded that winter storm warning at that moderate risk, while everybody else will be under a minor risk for some of those impacts. So let's go over what exactly does that mean. Well, the minor is going to be, you're going to see some slippery spots out there, so make sure you're driving safe. You could expect a few impacts. Maybe people are driving a little bit slower, so your commute might be a little bit longer, but not really expecting a whole lot in terms of that change in commute. Now, as we head to more of a moderate impact, that's when things start to get a little bit more serious. So you want to make sure you're using extreme caution as you are out there driving, because with those slick spots and maybe other people who might not have a car that's more meant for the snow, you could start to see more and more impacts, slower traffic, maybe an accident or two, and you could possibly run into a road closure just in case it does get bad, or in the worst case scenario of those up to 2 to 4 inches of snow. Now, here's what we do know. That the timing has been consistent all throughout this week, showing that it was going to be during those Sunday morning hours. And today, the track of it has shifted more to the north and to the west, showing that at least everybody will be seeing some sort of winter precipitation heading into tomorrow. And again, totals right now, anywhere from maybe a half of an inch to an inch. In terms of worst case scenario, maybe anywhere from 2 to maybe even 4 inches in that small little area known as the defamation zone. Just like last year, where a lot of us across middle Georgia saw about 1 to 3 to maybe even 4 inches, but then all the way down in Crisp County, somebody saw up to 9. So that was going to be within that defamation zone, where it's a very small area of very heavy snow. But those are very hard to forecast, so it's very hard to tell where exactly that could line up, but just something to keep in mind. On average, not expecting more than maybe about a half of an inch to an inch, but could see a little bit more out there, in worst case, anywhere from 2 to maybe 4 inches. Now, in terms of what we can expect heading into tonight, things are going to change. Winter weather forecasting is very difficult because you have to have a lot of factors that all need to line up just in the right way. And even from just last night being about 24 to 36 hours out, it looked like things were okay. And now today, they've changed once again. And we have another update coming out later tonight. So we could see a change in it once again. So as we head throughout the remainder of tonight, we'll be updating our website in case anything is to see a major change. And again, since we're almost a year to the date from what happened just last year, this could be rather exciting, especially in the deep south. We really don't get snow all that often, so to get it back to back like this in 2 separate years is pretty amazing. So if you're going to be out there, you might be able to make a snowball or two, and you want to share that with us, you can with our Chime In app. We've got that QR code right here, so if you want to pull out your camera, scan the screen, you'll be able to download that app, and if you submit it to us, we'll be able to share it on our Facebook and maybe even on our newscasts as well. So just something to keep in mind if you're going to be out there enjoying it tomorrow. Just something that you'll be able to share with us and show that we're having fun in some of this snow. Okay, so gone through it a couple of times now. So I'm just going to do one final update of checking our YouTube and the Facebook, just seeing if there are any other comments that people might be leaving, might be asking. And yeah. All right, I'm not seeing anything at the moment, so I think that is going to be it for now. Again, have another update that'll be coming out later tonight. So as things are going to change, we'll be sure to update our Facebook, especially in case there's going to be a major update of some sort. But for now, this is what we're looking at, having that winter weather advisory out for everybody here in Middle Georgia, and just a certain select spots being within that winter storm warning. So looking likely that we'll be seeing some sort of snow as we head into tomorrow. Just exactly how much is still a little bit up in the air. Again, maybe about a half of an inch to an inch for most. In certain places, a little bit more than that. In worst case, maybe from 2 to 4 inches. So not going to be nearly as bad as we saw last year, but still something that you can get excited about and try to enjoy, especially since the deep south really doesn't get a whole lot of snow. But for now, that's going to be it from me. I'm meteorologist Noah Hauck, and that's been the winter weather update. So I hope everybody has a great rest of their Saturday, and hopefully you'll be able to enjoy some of that winter weather as we head into tomorrow.